2 today.
Please.
Yeah, we're gonna read part 2 today.
That's like 3 pages.
What are we on?
honestly.
It'll be fine.
Okay.
What are we on?
Are you
Yeah.
We're on chapter 5.
Oh, it's more than 3 pages.
So we covered
It's like
some new information regarding Bernard and him as a character. Who did we introduce as well, chapter 4?
Oh, Helmholtz.
Helmholtz Watson, yeah. So, learned a lot about Bernard and Helmholtz and their relationship. How are those two similar?
They think alike.
They think alike, how come?
Doesn't have the same brain capacity, mental capacity.
Okay,
But they
and
look different.
they're different from the rest of the alphas, right?
Yeah.
Because of that greater mental capacity. Now, how are they different?
One smaller.
Who?
The benign.
Okay,
That's not what
yeah, you're correct.
I'm saying. Okay. I didn't know if I had to explain more.
Now, between the two characters, there's kind of an interesting relationship, right?
Yeah.
Which one is more outgoing?
Helmholtz.
Helmholtz, right. And Bernard is a little bit more introverted because of his height and the alcohol in his blood surrogate when he was developing, right? So it's stunted his growth a little bit, but as far as his mental capacity, it is exceeding that of all the other alphas. Bernard is a little bit jealous of Helmholtz, isn't he? What kind of proof did we see in the story that
He was
establishes that?
bragging about that girl when, like that one girl when Helmholtz has like 640.
Yeah. So Bernard is going out with Lenina. Where are they gonna go?
On vacation.
To,
In Mexico.
what's there?
Isn't it that one thing he can't do?
No,
Or
it's,
golfing?
it's like
Isn't it the
the
golf obstacle?
what is it, Savage something?
Oh, yeah.
Savage
the human-
Reservation,
the-
yeah. Savage Reservation is where they're gonna go.
It's kind of a cool name. Savage.
It's a savage name.
So you see what's going on there.
Mm.
So, you got your questions for chapter 5 there? Take a
Oh,
second.
that's where that girl gets pregnant.
Take a second, look at those.
I'm just guessing.
Take a look at what?
Take a second, look at your chapter 5 questions there, so then when we hit them, it'll be easier to,
Are these in order, these questions?
typically. Is that okay?
Yeah, I like it when it's in order.
Okay, maybe I'll start mixing it up then, just to bother you.
Okay, thanks.
What's a cabaret?
Cabaret. Find out. All right, who wants to volunteer to read first?
I will.
All right, thanks, Shanae.
By 8 o'clock, the light was failing. The loudspeakers in the tower of the Stoke Poges Clubhouse began, in a more than human tenor, to announce the closing of the courses. Lenina and Henry abandoned their game and walked back towards the club. From the grounds of the Internal and External Secretion Trust came the luring of those thousands of cattle which provided, with their hormones and their milk, the raw materials for the great factory at Quantium Royal. An incessant buzzing of helicopters filled the twilight. Every 2.5 minutes, a bell and the screech of whistles announced the departure of one of the light monorail trains which carried the lower caste golfers back from their separate course to the metropolis. Lenina and Henry climbed into their machine and started off. At 800 feet, Henry slowed down the helicopter screws and they hung for a minute or two, poised above the fading landscape. The rainforest of Burnham beaches stretched like a great pool of darkness towards the bright shore of the western sky. Crimson at the horizon, the last of the sunset faded through orange, upwards into yellow and a pale watery green. Northward, beyond and above the trees, the internal and external secretions factory glared with a fierce electric brilliance from every window of its 20 stories. Beneath them lay the buildings of the golf club, the huge lower caste barracks, and on the other side of the dividing wall, the smaller houses reserved for Alpha and Beta members. The approaches to the monorail station were black with the ant-like pollution of the lower caste activity. From under the glass vault, a lighted train shot out into the open. Following its southeasterly course across the dark plain, their eyes were drawn to the majestic buildings of the Slough Crematorium. For the safety of the night-flying planes, its 4 tall chimneys were flood-lighted and tipped with crimson danger signals. It was a landmark. Why do the smokestacks have those things like balconies around them? Inquired Lenina.
Okay. So, Lenina and Henry Foster are out on a date, right?
Mhm.
Last week when we read, there was kind of an altercation between Bernard and Henry. Why was there an altercation between those two characters? Because of Lenina, why? What was the cause of it?
Because one wants to sleep with everyone, and like Henry has cares about her, or knows the other dude that cares about her. You know, I don't know. I don't remember now. I got started. Someone else answer, please.
Okay, someone pick up from there.
Bernard was saying like that Henry doesn't even know her or something.
But haven't Henry and Lenina kind of been going together for a few months?
Yeah, going together, not getting to know each other.
You're not supposed
Oh.
to get to know each other. You're supposed to just sleep around and you're the next person.
Okay. So, Bernard's feelings toward Henry are what?
That he is a jerk.
Okay. What are Bernard's feelings towards Lenina? Trey?
He likes her.
That's it?
Yeah.
Let's get a little deeper into that, Trey.
He wants her to like him too. Like to want to date with him.
But isn't that like illegal in this society?
Yeah.
So Bernard is just gonna break the rules?
Yeah. That's what it looks like.
Okay, so think about the Savage Reservation where they're gonna go on a date, right? Lenina and Bernard. Just think of the words Savage Reservation. What do you expect that to be?
Something inappropriate.
I feel like it's gonna be a lot of like cavemen.
Okay, so like a society away from what they're living in?
Well, yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
And they're like crazy and gross and stuff.
Okay, what'd you say, Hannah?
It's like somewhere where it's not like their society, so people don't judge them for being together because that's not how they should
Because they
be.
can be savages.
Oh, okay. So according to like the DHC, they said in the past, monogamy was kind of that's how they worked in society, right? And so they were technically savages for being monogamous. Now, we know better that in this society, they're not that way, right, Kylie?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, you might be onto something there, Hannah.
I like to make it pregnant.
Let's have Trey read.
Phosphorus recovery, explained Henry telegraphically. On their way up the chimney, the gases go through 4 separate treatments. P2O5 used to go right out of circulation every time they creamed someone. Now they recover over 98% of it, more than 1.5 kilos per adult corpse, which makes the best part of 400 tons of phosphorus every year from England alone. Henry spoke with a happy pride, rejoicing wholeheartedly in achievement, as though it had been his own. Fine to make we can go on being socially useful even after we're dead, making plants grow. Lenina, meanwhile, had turned her eyes away and was looking perpendicularly downwards at the monorail station. Fine. She agreed, but queer that alphas and betas won't make any more planets their own than those nasty little gammas and deltas and epsilons down there. All men are psycho, chemically equal, and Henry centenariously. Besides, even epsilons perform indispensable services. Even epsilon, Lenina suddenly remembered an occasion when, as a little girl at school, she had woken up in the middle of the night become aware for the first time of the whispering that haunted all her sleeps. She saw again the beam of moonlight, the row of small white beds, heard once more the soft, soft noise that said the words are there, unforgotten, unforgettable, after so many night-long repetitions. Everyone works for everyone else. We can't do without anyone. Even epsilons are useful. We couldn't do without epsilons. Everyone works for everyone else. We can't do without anyone. Lenina remembered her first shock of fear and surprise, her speculations through half a wakeful hour, and then, under the influence of those endless repetitions, the gradual soothing of her mind, the soothing, the smoothing, the stealthy creeping of sleep.
Okay. What do they do with people when they die? They cremate them, all of them, right? What's the point of cremation? The what? Okay. Why do they do it in this society?
Makes it easier.
Not quite.
So they can get P2O5, use it to grow trees.
Yeah. They call it phosphorus recovery, is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, all the, I don't know how to explain, all the leftovers from cremating people, lets off gases, and then they collect those gases, and then that enables plants to grow. Simple enough? All right. Taylor, will you read?
Where are we at?
I suppose epsilons.
Oh, I suppose epsilons don't really mind being epsilons, she said out loud. Of course they don't. How can they? They don't know what it's like being anything else. We'd mind, of course, but then we've been differently conditioned. Besides, we start with a different heredity. I'm glad I'm not an epsilon, said Lenina with conviction. And if you were an epsilon, said Henry, your conditioning would have made you no less thankful that you weren't a beta or an alpha. He put his forward propeller into gear and headed the machine towards London. Behind them in the west, the crimson and orange were almost faded, and a dark bank of cloud had crept into the zenith. As they flew over the crematorium, the plane shot upwards on the column of hot air rising from the chimneys, only to fall as suddenly when it passed into the sending chill beyond. What a marvelous switchback, Lenina laughed delightedly. But Henry's tone was almost for a moment melancholy. Do you know what that switchback was? He said. It was some human finally being finally and definitely disappearing, growing up in a squirt of hot gas. It would be curious to know who it was, a man or a woman, an alpha or an epsilon, he sighed. Then in a what's that word? Resolutely cheerful voice. Anyhow, he concluded, there's one thing we can be certain of. Whoever he may have been, he was happy when he was alive. Everybody's happy now. Yes, everybody's happy now, echoed Lenina. They had heard the words repeated 150 times every night for 12 years.
Jesse, will you read?
Landing on the roof of Henry's 40-story apartment house in Westminster, they went straight down to the dining hall. There, in a loud and cheerful company, they ate an excellent meal. Soma was served with the coffee. Lenina took 2 half-gram tablets and Henry 3. At 9:20, they walked across the street to the newly opened Westminster Abbey cabaret. It was a night almost without clouds, moonless and starry, but of this on the whole depressing fact, Lenina and Henry were fortunately unaware. The electric sky signs effectively shut off the outer darkness. Calvin Stopes and his 16 saxophonists. From the facade of the new abbey, the giant letters invitingly glittered, London's finest scent and color organ, all the latest synthetic music. They entered. The air seemed hot and somehow breathless with the scent of ambergris and sandalwood. On the domed ceiling of the hall, the color organ had momentarily painted a tropical sunset. The 16 saxophonists were playing an old favorite. There ain't no bottle in all the world like that dear little bottle of mine. 400 couples were 5-stepping around the polished floor. Lenina and Henry were soon the 401st. The saxophonists wailed like melodious cats under the moon, moaned in the alto and tenor registers as though the little death were upon them. Rich with a wealth of harmonies, their tremulous chorus mounted towards a climax, louder and ever louder, until at last, with a wave of his hand, the conductor let loose the final shattering tone of other music and blew the 16 merely human blowers clean out of existence. Thunder in A-flat major, and then, in all but silence, in all but darkness, there followed a gradual detergence, a diminuendo sliding gradually through quarter tones, down to a faintly whispered dominant chord that lingered on, while the 5/4 rhythm still pulsed below, charging the darkened seconds with an intense expectancy. And at last, expectancy was fulfilled. There was a sudden explosive sunrise, and simultaneously the 16 burst into song.
Okay, stop there. All right, so Shanae, what is a cabaret?
It's like a concert hall,
Okay, so what do they do there?
sing. They have, yeah, a singer and his saxophonist.
Okay,
So
And
it's like
what-
an orchestra hall thing.
well, what are Lenina and Henry doing at this place? Dancing, right. So, think about the instruments that they're playing. What is occurring as they're dancing? What's going on around them? The other people are dancing?
So it's like Play More in Lincoln.
Essentially. Think about the color organ. What does that thing do? Yep. But what else does it do? I think it was at the top of what that page is.
It painted a tropical sunset.
Okay, so it's kind of setting up what type of atmosphere? Right. Think about what Henry and Lenina took before they went to the cabaret. What did they have? Soma. And what is Soma?
Weed. Drugs.
It's a type of drug to make you feel good, right? So, they feel good, they're gonna go dance where it portrays a romantic setting to an extent. And think about the 16 saxophonists. Is there kind of a play on words there?
Oh, I was gonna
I kinda
ask.
wondered, I was like, I'm pretty sure that's not how you spell it, but I think there's something different.
Okay, so, based on the color organ,
It's like the movies that they play, that they want the couples to go hook up after.
the feelies,
Yeah.
essentially, yes. Good job. Let's have Michelle read.
I have to read this song.
You have to sing it.
I'm not singing, unless you want to go down. Can I just skip it?
You can just read it.
Okay. Bottom of mine, it's you I've always wanted. Bottom of mine, why was I never you can't his? Skies are blue inside of you.